Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Trail Talk Highpointing podcast. And I'm here today with Tom and Tommy, my first podcast guests ever. And now they're back again to talk about the latest issue of the Apex to Zenith magazine, of which they are co-editors. And we're also going to talk about their latest high points and what's going on in the highpointing community. So welcome to the show, Tom and Tommy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Happy to be here, as always.
It was great being here.
Yeah. So I'm going to hold up the latest issue. Now, can you see it?
Yeah.
This cover is really interesting. And now I understand, like, I took a 2-month hiatus from podcasting to take care of my daughter, but there's going to be a new issue coming out very soon. So this is the latest issue right now. It's issue 138. And I love the cover of it because it's just people on high points.
Yeah.
And did they just send in those photos?
No, some people did. Some people sent them in. Some of them we took while we were at the convention.
Yes, I noticed they're wearing their shirts and they're holding a watermelon and they're on Brasstown Bald. Yeah.
That was one of the challenges, was to not have too many pink boxes next to each other as we were trying to put together the cover, right? Because that was the theme of the convention. But no, I mean, as we were talking about it, and it's funny because we are right in the middle now of the winter issue. So,
that's right.
We're very close to that coming out. So I've got to reshift back to think of, the prior issue. But I do remember that we were thinking of, traditionally the cover is a really cool picture of somebody on a high point somewhere or a mountain somewhere. But having come from the convention, it really just struck us how fun and interesting and, and diverse the high pointer world is.
Right.
It
so
is.
we thought, what a good idea to just give a little smattering of kind of who those people are. I think the title was "We Are the High Pointer."
Yeah, that's right. We are the Highpointers Club. Yep.
Yeah, it was fun sort of.
That's
putting
perfect.
Them all together.
Yeah, so it was on the heels of that, right? It was on the heels of the convention. We're all in the same boat. We're not all the same, though, right? And I think the cover shows that. But we do have a common purpose, and that's what we wanted to show.
Yeah, I like
anybody can do it. If we're doing it, anybody can do it. It's a little bit of that theme.
That's right.
Yeah. And when you look at all of the different individuals, I don't know if we captured every make, model, type of people, but we tried to get a perspective of, you got a lot of really brand new people. I think there was one where we had somebody's granddaughter who was, climbing up to one of the high points.
That was cute.
So we have people who are just starting. We have people who have been doing it and are trying to get to a goal that they're, getting close to. And I think some people were in suits and ties. They had just come from wherever they came from. So it really, it's a fun, really interesting group of people.
Yeah,
it sure is. And there are some really great stories throughout this issue. I think my favorite one is from Pat Paya. It's called 50 After 60. And I'll tell you why it's my favorite. Because my husband and I had just watched on Netflix the newest film by Jimmy Chin called Naiad. And it's about a swimmer, Diane Naiad. And she tried to swim from Cuba to Key West. And she was in her 60s, I think. And everyone told her, "You're crazy. No, this can't be done." And after many failed attempts, she did do it. And when she reached the shore of Key West, and I just gave away the movie, but you know what? It's a true story, so it's out there. When she reached the shore of Key West, she said 3 things: "You're never too old, never give up, and it takes a team." And when she said "you're never too old," this article, 50 After 60, kind of it goes along that same theme of, a lot of people kind of, I don't know if they give up, but they say, I'm too old to be climbing mountains and all that.
Right?
But he did it.
The thing that I recall, if I'm correct in my memory here, is Pat was a teacher, I believe, right? And I think that the reason that Pat wasn't able to embark on this was because he was tied up with his job and with school, and
a lot of us are.
Yeah,
up the time, right? Like everybody.
Right.
And so, it's very inspirational, right? He sort of, it was a goal that he had. He committed to it and made it happen.
Yeah,
I think that's a good segue into kind of what I've been doing, or what we've been doing since the last time we talked. Yeah. But I turned 50 October 24th, so I'm 50 now.
Happy birthday!
Right? So it's not 50
you
after
have to do 60 after 50.
I don't know. Yeah, right. I'm supposed to do 4,000 footers in New Hampshire before 48, but I started when I was 48. So anyway, but no, my wife turned 50 as well in August 28th, and she wanted to hike Mount Washington on her birthday on the day when she turned 50. Awesome. Which is a pretty badass thing, right? So we did it. We hiked Mount Washington, which is a high point in New Hampshire, on August 28th, her 50th birthday. And I'll tell you, doing it when you're 50, I mean, I was only 49 at the time, but, I did it pretty easy. But it was awesome. It was such a good feeling. And, it was just, you're 50 years old. It's just a number. I don't feel 50. I feel like, with what we're doing here, it's just, things are just starting. But, it was an interesting milestone she wanted to have. And Tom had done it a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So you were a high pointer before I was.
Longer than
without knowing it. So I always had to catch up with one. So we both have 19 now. And that was the plan, right? So it is interesting as you get older, you either set targets or you tell yourself you can't set them anymore, right? And we're going to keep setting.
I can tell you now, Tommy, that bugged me that I had one that I wasn't able to take credit for. Because we were
going to do it last year on her birthday.
Right.
And I said,
So I kept saying, I'm like, when are you going to go do Washington?
Right.
Because, they have a place right there. There's a cabin. Right. It's right in your backyard, basically. But Melanie had, I think, an awesome goal to do it on her birthday. But now we're caught up. Well, how was the climb?
Climb was unbelievable. Yeah, it was picture perfect day, clear day up top. It was, really no weather except clouds coming through, right? We stopped at Lake of the Clouds. We did it in one day, up and down. I think it was a total of 11 hours, but we did stop a lot at the lake, and we grabbed we grabbed another 48 that was right there too. I forget if it's Eisenhower or which one it was, but
That's awesome.
Pierce. No, I don't remember what it was. But we went up to another another 4,000 footer, and we took our time with it. We left early and we came down right at sunset. It was perfect. It was hard, of course. It was difficult terrain, and as it is, but as you were climbing the rocks, the green rocks up at the top, it's a rock pile. It was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. We came up over the hill and there were people, you can take the train up or drive up. Mm-hmm. So we came up the backside, which I think is the only way to come up, as people were taking photos dressed in like just normal street, normal clothes. And they were like, where did you guys come from?
Talk about this, Lauren.
Yes.
This is a good podcast topic.
Yes.
How can we figure out a way to get a separate climbing line at the top of Mount Washington?
Oh, yeah.
For those people who have climbed the mountain as opposed to my car drove to the top of the mountain.
Right. So there's a long line to take a picture at the sign.
Is there really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Every hour, I think they come up with a train. So we came up over the hill and, you just kind of get
people and the others with their baby sodas. And it's like,
I'm sorry. You're going to take a picture at the summit after you took a train up, a picture at the summit implies that you climbed up there, you earned it,
Yeah.
But
it's, it's the weather observatory and it's a, high profile up in the Northeast. So,
yeah.
But no, it's, we got up there right around when the last train was leaving. And so it wasn't that long. And, a couple guys let us go. They said, you got places to be. Why don't you jump ahead? I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, you
not everybody did.
You have
not
to
everybody.
down.
Read the room, guys.
Take a train down.
Right. Yeah. I'm the one moaning.
That is interesting. There should be a separate line for climbers.
It's like like the Disney Speed Pass line or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Got to figure something out.
Or more people should just read the room and just say,
like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when you're at the grocery store and the person behind you has like one item and you have 50 and you're like, go ahead. Go before.
I did that the other day.
It's just a basic courtesy thing.
Exactly.
I did that the other day.
Yeah. As you should. As you should.
There was the Stonewall kitchen across from my office and I got a little crazy in there. But,
You were the one with the one thing or the one with the line?
No, I had I had a lot of things.
You went crazy. Now, you guys also got another high point. You did Spruce Knob in West Virginia together, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. That was, and talk about spontaneity. That was one where I think last time we were talking with you, we probably had our game plan all mapped out. I think we were talking about Kentucky. We were going to go
Ohio,
some stuff.
Indiana, yeah.
And then for whatever reason, weekend came up. My wife, Tommy's sister, was heading up for something in Massachusetts, and we just said, you know what, let's do it. Let's get in the car. Tommy drove down. We made the trip to West Virginia, and it was an awesome weekend.
Yeah, wow. It was. Again, it was in the plan. We were going to go do those 3 at some point, and this weekend opened up for us, and we had to get to West Virginia. Tom lives in New Jersey. I live in Boston. I think I drove down. We drove down like Friday. Drove down Thursday night, left Friday, got there, and we stayed the weekend. So it was really cool. We had a blast, and we didn't have a hotel. We had nothing, right? We didn't have anything. We just kind of got in the car and left, figuring out, which is kind of not normal these days. I said, let's just get there and find something. And we said, yeah. So I say this as I'm 50 years old wearing a pair of Hey Dudes, right? We got Hey Dudes out of it. Right?
Those are the pride of West Virginia.
Yes.
Have you heard of Hey Dudes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we figured when in West Virginia, wear what the West Virginians wear. So
yeah,
that's right.
Smokehouse Tavern. Right? But it was pretty well. It wasn't, we got in the car and we drove. We knew we were going, right? We didn't know what, how, when, what time.
All these trips tend to take on a personality or a theme of their own.
Sure.
And I think this one was, we were just, I guess we were living right, or we were under, a fortuitous star or something, because things kept happening that should have been disastrous, but that we ended up surviving. Like we came so close to completely running out of gas, like as we were getting to the mountain. And when you're in West Virginia,
you don't want to run out of
realize
gas.
There's no place to get gas at all. Anyway.
Right. So we didn't almost run out of gas. You thought we were going to run out of gas, right? We discussed the gas, but the light went on when we were
way more confident in the fact that the gas gauge was like so far below. We were at the point where we were Googling how much gas you have once you're
right. All right. This is, we are Highpointers, right? So we're also suburban slobs, right? So we're coming from the normal life. Driving into the mountains. We stopped at Buffalo Wild Wings to watch Kentucky, Florida football, get some lunch. Yes. And so we're driving through, we're talking, we're listening. What were we driving in? We had
asked Jack, because Jackie was up in...
Were in Corolla?
Yeah, we were in an old Honda Accord.
The original Accord, low to the ground.
Yes.
And CD player, right? CD player.
Which had not been out of the general vicinity for many, many years.
Yeah, but it wasn't a pickup. It wasn't rugged. We said, all right, we'll just drive. We'll be there. So we had CDs we picked out. We listened to Dire Straits' greatest hits, the Sultans of Swing, the very best of the Dire Straits.
Yes.
Right? That was the CD. But yeah, sometimes it's the deals you don't make that are the best ones, right? We almost drove into a ditch on the side of the road. Just, you couldn't even see it. It was like a utility swale. We were going to pull over to turn around because we were going to our the cottage, right?
We got the absolute, literal last cabin. In the entire state of West Virginia.
Yeah.
Because we kept saying we didn't have any place to stay. We're like, you know what? We underestimated the remoteness of West Virginia. And
for sure.
We thought we'll pull up to a motel, a hotel, we'll find something. And we hit a point where we're like, I don't think there's anything. We're going to have to turn around and drive another 100 miles back.
Right.
Anything.
And we love it when we're on the highway and we get off and then we notice we're in a mountain town, right? We're kind of like, we're we're now where everybody should be, right?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and the rolling hills, and it's one road, and it's old America or whatever it is.
It's what John Denver sang about. Was he the one who wrote
it
that
was
song?
beautiful. So we got kind of caught up in that as we're cruising around, and we knew we had so many miles, and as we were observing the beauty, our phones nothing worked, right? There's no signal, which was fine. We knew we were going, but we didn't
really until the next day when we were trying to use our GPS on the trail.
We don't need that. We knew where we were going the whole time. So, so we went to Smokehouse Caverns. We were looking around. We've got the Hey Dudes. We're shopping. And then we noticed they were renting cottages and different things from the property across the street. And we got the last room. We asked if there was a room available or if we could get closer to the trailhead, right? Which is another 20, 25 minutes down the road. And she says, no, there's nothing down there. So if we drove down there, we would have to come back.
There's nothing down there, and I don't know if there's anything here.
And she said, I don't think we have anything here. She goes, we have one room left. It's probably the only room left. It's like, people are down there hiking and being outdoors.
When was this?
September 30th, right around there, that weekend. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, the fall foliage and all that,
right? Fall foliage, right?
Yeah.
So, but we believed that you could still be spontaneous in this world, and we proved it, right? And it was just like, there was what she said, there's one room
left. Skin of your teeth.
It's like, so you still like to talk about how we almost didn't get the room? I knew we were getting that room the whole time. That was saved for us.
You knew everything. You knew we weren't running out of gas. You knew we were going to get the room. The one thing, so we're pulling back to go into the room, and there's a truck behind us, and we're trying. Oh, I think we pulled right past where we should have gone. So I'm going to pull over to the side of the road,
the dirt road.
Back.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's a road and there's a lot of grass. It's like no problem at all in my mind. So pull up. I pull off the side of the road and stop. And Tommy opens the door and starts freaking out about. I thought he dropped his phone out of the door, and I was like, "Well, just pick it up, And he's like,
I couldn't even speak.
You described it. He couldn't get it out of his mouth. What was happening? Right. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know what he's all worked up over.
Oh, we're like 1 inch from it, just going over. Like you couldn't see it because it was just a swale. But I'm offended you would think I care about my phone that much. But, I'm like, this is a serious situation. I'm freaked out. Right.
Freaking out here. It turns out that I learned. So I'm just like, all right, no big deal.
Yeah.
I pull forward. I get out of the car, and it turns out that literally, in fact, we have a picture of it where you can see the grass, like a fraction of an inch away from essentially falling in, like the car going into this major ditch.
I just would have went down, and we would have had to get pulled out. And there's nobody around to pull us out. But so that was a huge win, even though that was a win, right? We didn't fall into the ditch. We didn't run out of gas. We didn't not have a room. We didn't hit that deer, which we could have hit the deer.
Yes. But on the climb itself, and actually this was one of those things where, and I think this happens a lot in Highpoint, where the challenge becomes the best part of the trip.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Because Tommy had, what did you go on? Was it all trails?
Yeah. Yep.
One of the things, and it read a little bit that said at the beginning of the Spruce Knob hike, you're going to hit a point where you're in this like waist high, whatever it was, like wheat.
Yeah, I don't know if someone said ferns or whatever. Yeah, definitely ferns, but it was. You're walking through tall grass for the.
That's probably the best story. So we're walking through tall grass, and it's like, okay, we expected this, we knew this, and all trails goes out. We have no service, we have no anything, but we're like, all right, we know what we're doing. We keep walking, we keep walking, we keep walking. We hit a point where it's like, this is way too long, and this grass is way too high, and this can't be right.
Yeah.
This cannot be right.
Right.
So very calmly, we talk it through. And we get to a point where we turn around, because we have to turn around. This happened on Marcy, too. I'm very big on not walking and hiking long stretches of time in the wrong direction. and then having to turn around and go back. Like
I would say that's common. Not a lot of people are fans of that.
Yeah. You want to go down the fastest route too. Like, I want to loop around. But
in Marcy, we're up at the crack of dawn, ready to go because we know it's cold and wet and this is going to be a long trip. And we go like probably 45 minutes down a path where we then walk back 45 minutes and we're where we started. And then we start the trip. So it's like just back on like an hour.
It was like 15 minutes.
For fun.
I'm the map guy, so I'm, So anyway.
So we do the same thing here and we come back.
This was legit though. Like we were doing the right things. I had the map downloaded, but it lost my signal. It wasn't tracking me on the map. So I knew where we were going.
Right.
But, we
figured out, which was, we got to a point where we're like, okay, and Tommy, you were right. And Tommy was like, in order for us to get on the trail, we need to walk basically around, not overly far, but maybe, pretty far, right? We'd have to walk overly around. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, ultimately we're going there. Like we're going up there.
Right.
So why don't we walk through the woods? Now there were just woods that were leading up there. And ultimately we learned that we could have gone around the trail or we just like cut straight ahead and went right through the trees.
Right. So we didn't start early, and we were hiking the longest trail that we could get on, right? Which isn't overly long. But what happened was we were going to take a left through these ferns, and we were walking, but the left we were supposed to take, there was concrete barriers up there, like dead men. It looked like it was actually walled off where you shouldn't go up that way. And I still, on the way back, we were like, what did we miss here? And it is not marked the color of the trail. It was actually, there was no marking saying go up that way. So we kept going, which actually went downhill a little bit. And then I hate going down to go up as well. Like it kind of felt like, all right, we have no signal. We're kind of going down here. We probably should have turned more at some point. Yeah, we're bending left, but we didn't go left. But it was pretty good, so...
Meanwhile, everything we read was like, this is an easy trail. It's simple. Yeah. You get on it. It's beautiful.
Like we should have brought the sickle.
By 4 o'clock, we'll see the suns.
This isn't bad.
But we have no idea.
Anyway, we did resort to just kind of figuring out we knew where we were. We knew where the trail was, and we knew where we had to go, but we went somewhere up. We said, let's climb up that hill because we have to get height, right? And we went through the woods without a. And
it was, the thing is, in retrospect, like everything in retrospect, when you're doing it, you're like, what the heck am I doing? When you're actually done with it was gorgeous. It was like, talk about like magical, enchanted Christmas tree forest. I mean, that's really what these trees were. And there was nobody anywhere. Yeah. So it's just the two of us in the middle of this forest. And it was gorgeous and probably the best feeling ever. And I think this happens a lot too. Like this is more fun sometimes than the easily marked trail is when we came over the ridge and saw the actual trail that we really should have been on the whole time. You would have thought like we just discovered America or something. Yeah. we were right. We figured it out. We tracked our way up through the woods.
Yeah. And I think, 15 high points ago, we might have not done that. We might have kept going. You know what I mean? So just the general awareness of being out there and what it's supposed to look like. And, how, we went a little too far here. I know you go down to go up. So all the things we've learned, there was a reason that something went wrong with the maps. Right. And, and we figured it out pretty easily, but we were questioning ourselves maybe every 25% of the way up. It was pretty high. We were going pretty high. Well, the other thing too, we were going. So I was kind of happy with, it was a really good moment for us. Right.
Yeah. So you guys were the only ones on the trail the whole time?
Yeah. A lot of people, you could drive up, right? So there's a lot of people driving up, mountain bikers up top, beautiful day. And a lot of people were going up to see the foliage, but we didn't see anybody on the trail. Just
That's interesting because it was, no vacancy in the town below.
Sunday, right? Did we end up climbing on Sunday?
The time was odd that we did it. And even at the top, we didn't see a million people. We saw a handful of people.
Yeah.
But, you always look to get the payoff, right? You look to get the gorgeous view. Mm-hmm. And this one, we could not have asked for more in terms of The weather was perfect. The views were unbelievable. The foliage was peak.
Yeah.
So it wasn't only just seeing the gorgeous view, but the red, orange, yellow trees for miles. So it was really awesome.
Right. Yeah. So it was an incredible experience, right? So just being in West Virginia, what a beautiful area that is, Spruce Knob. I loved it. We got the cabin, which was great. And then we were like, all right, what are we doing? Saturday night. I think, I think I drove down on a Friday. It was Saturday. So we were trying to should we go somewhere to eat? It was still we always kind of end up cooking. But, we went down to it was the oldest general store in the state, right? Harper's old country store.
We ended up stumbling upon the oldest general store.
Yeah.
Was it in the state of West Virginia, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. It was Harper's, right? And it's next to Yoakum's down there. And that's like the Saturday night scene. A lot of people just go down and hang out in the parking lot, right? So we were down there and there was a vibe, right? There was a West Virginia vibe.
The guy who was running it was like the great, 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 great grandson of the original owner of the place.
Right. Oh, wow. So it was pretty impressive. Like he's there, he's 30, right? He wasn't old or young. He was about 30 years old. And he's in West Virginia running a general store when he had more of a corporate career.
And
but
couldn't have been proud.
He didn't want it to close or have it out of the family. So he did some upgrades and now he's running the store. And a lot of times nowadays you don't see that the second generation take it over, whether it's an Italian market in town or something like, whatever it might be. They don't want to do it. He's like the fourth or fifth generation. So the fact that he saw the importance that needed to stay in his family and he was the one to do it he was a pretty cool guy.
And to give you a sense of what kind of place it was, we walk in and what was you ended up talking with her more than I did. But what was the back of the jacket that the woman was wearing?
Bury me in West Virginia.
Bury me in West Virginia.
With a picture of something. A bird or some kind
of course, I mean, if that
bloody scene, I didn't know what it was.
An immediate conversation.
It was leather.
Harmony in West Virginia. Yeah. It was a pretty sharp jacket too.
Yeah, it was good. That was Dawn. Dawn was poor, right? That was her tag name. And
right.
But it's funny. She was in she's like, we were talking about what we're doing the next day, and she loves West Virginia. She was there alone. I think she lived there and she drove back to do a lot of people were doing there's a lot of different hikes up there and different mountains and different things to do. So but we got talking with her because we were just hanging in the general store and we get talking, there's nothing else to do. And but she said we talked about just food and what they didn't have a lot of food there, but at Yoakum's next door we did, and we talked about different things. And she was great. She knew all the trails and where to go and what to do. A lot of local knowledge as she had been there. She recommended some other things we should try out either this time or next time, because the Seneca Rock is there and all of those types of things. So we went over to the Yoakums to get some food for dinner, and she rolls in through there, and I'm standing in front of all these homemade jams, right, and butters and things like that. I'm like, I want them all. And she stands next to me, and she's like, I make my own pear butter. I go, you do? I go, really? She goes, yeah. You want the recipe? I go, sure. So she's sending us the pear butter recipe, and then we were talking about reconstituting hummus, right? How to reconstitute hummus for a trail.
I think it's towards the end of the magazine in this latest issue of Mauna Kea. There is a new addition to the sign on Mauna Kea. Is that correct? Saying that the Highpointers Club officially recognizes a new spot on the mountain as a high point.
Yeah. I mean, it was an issue that there was a lot of discussion, and Catherine Bertine, who's on the board of directors of the Highpointers Club, was very passionate about it and really did some amazing work in terms of, in essence, the actual high point in Hawaii is on what's considered sacred ground. And there was a concern that, people would go beyond. There's a sign up there, but the sign didn't really represent anything that indicated that, this is considered the high point. It ended up being something that the representatives that Catherine was working with actually came up with a solution which is kind of the perfect solution, which basically just acknowledges and recognizes that spot as being the high point.
Right.
Because people were concerned that they wouldn't get credit if
Right.
they didn't go up into this area. And it was important that it was clear that people would be considered having achieved the high point of Hawaii if they were at that spot.
If you stop at that marker.
That's
Right.
what that sign, and the sign represents that and is very clear. And so, I think just a good solution all around.
That is a good solution. I agree.
Yeah. Takes the individual choice out of it.
Yeah.
Because this is all kind of an honor system thing, right? A lot of people might have walked up to the top and not really wanted to because they were there to see Hawaii. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it just takes that pressure off. And then you can still make the choice if you want to, but you don't have to make that choice anymore, right? So I think there were 3 different owners potentially of the area, right? That the college or the school and the local community. So it was a lot of work that went into kind of just getting the right people to help decide what the approach would be.
And here's something I can recommend. And we've talked a lot about this, Lauren, in terms of the connection between Apex to Zenith and the Highpointers Club and your podcast is Catherine Bertine, Bertine, is really well versed in this topic. Have the conversations. And so if anybody is interested in learning more or understanding more about the background or how the whole thing came about, either by reaching through you or certainly just sending a note to Apex to Zenith, we can get you the information and give you some of that background information.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating.
That's good. Yeah. And then another part of the Apex to Zenith issue in every issue now is the Highpointer / podcaster of the quarter. Yes. And in this last issue, I highlighted Austin and Nicole from the van life episode. I forget what number episode that was, but and I had to open that article that I wrote featuring them as the Highpointers of the quarter with that Chris Farley quote when he talked about living in a van down by the river. And I'm like, this is my chance. I have to use that quote now.
When do you get the opportunity?
Yeah. But I thought they're very enthusiastic members of the community. They were at the convention. Of course, they're listeners. And I thought they were great people to be Highpointers of the quarter. And I'm excited for next quarter's Highpointer of the quarter. And I think all the listeners will be excited too. Because I'm not. But I will just say that I chose the Highpointer of the quarter based on, a lot of things, the conversation that I had with this Highpointer and also the analytics don't lie. And a lot of people enjoyed this episode. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, a lot of people around the world enjoyed this episode. There were downloads in other continents. So that was cool.
Phenomenal. That's great.
So to close out the episode, is there anything you want listeners to know about anything upcoming in the club or what they can look forward to, how they can become members, and what's next?
Get your Merc orders in because they know where to get them by Christmas. But
that's another thing that I loved about this issue was the little Merc page with the Highpointers Club keychain, the coffee mug, the hats. That's really cool. I have to get that coffee mug and drink out of it while I'm on the show.
There's a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
We just need to get people kind of refocused on it. And look, the website is not where we would like it to be yet, but it will be, right?
Yeah.
And, there's been a lot of discussion about upping our social media game and upping our one of the things that you'll find is the registration for the South Dakota convention. You ready for this?
I already, Mark already covered this.
Do it electronically.
Thank you.
So we are moving into the future here.
Right.
Thank you.
And you're going to see a lot more of that. Within Apex to Zenith, you've got QR codes that take you to the membership site more easily.
there's
your Trail Talk podcast, right?
Right.
Go right to the QR code. It takes you right to the episode.
For me, there seems to be a consensus that the older members, and there are a lot of older members, don't want to go digital. But my mom's 85 and she's had an iPhone for a year and loves it. You know what I mean? I don't know if I believe that stance.
You got a very, very strong emotion.
I feel like everybody's got something now and knows how to use it, but it's hard to break through that. No one wants to challenge that, right? And we're not challenging it yet. We can control the social media accounts because those are there for the taking. The website, we're one step closer to trying to help with getting that updated with, you can see pictures of the Merc and order it right there, not just, just make it a little bit, it's not accessible right now. It hasn't been updated, but we're working on it. And that'll be a really good place to have a lot of things that we need to put on there,
I can't wait.
That we might not want to post on social media, whatever it might be. So just to have a website that's viable, but it's brick by brick, right? So we'll get there.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And to close out, have you guys read any books, listened to any podcasts, or watched any documentaries that you would recommend? My recommendation is Naiad on Netflix about the swimmer.
Can I give a recommendation that I have been all in on that has nothing to do with high pointing or climbing or anything?
Yeah.
But it is just, actually, you know what? I'll make a leap of a connection.
Okay.
Since Spotify began making audiobooks available, I was like, all right, what book have I always wanted to read, but that is just too big and too long, and I never dove into it? And it's Hamilton. So I'm like halfway into the audiobook version of Hamilton.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it's absolutely fascinating. And as I'm, I talking about like the oldest bars in different places, I am taking notes about places that I have to go visit. We were up in Massachusetts recently, and I'm like, I want to go do the Freedom Trail. Things that you've surrounded. Morristown, New Jersey, which is where Washington's headquarters is 30 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've never gone.
Right.
And so, I guess that's a good, it's sort of within the spirit of high pointing is there's just some fascinating, amazing, interesting things right out there in your backyard. And, take the time and go see them.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay.
I think that is, I always get home and say, what can I do around here that I haven't done before? And it's surprising how much, I'm kind of born and raised here in Massachusetts, and there's still things I haven't done. Yeah. But that's also exciting too. So, we've been living the right way, and now you've been living a better way. But, similar to Spotify, right? So I was listening to a podcast, Mark Maron's podcast, WTF. He had Albert Brooks on, and I was, I don't listen to him all the time, but I'll search around, and it was an amazing episode, a podcast. Albert Brooks was talking. You don't know enough about Albert Brooks, or you forget about him. And he was so well spoken and so smart comedian. And he said something on there about, just the path he had to take and different things, and why did he do what he did. And he said, if you have to talk someone into doing it, then they don't really want to do it anyway, right? And I kind of thought of that, like, wow, I've been doing all these things with Uncle Shea here, my friend, and I haven't had to be talking to any of it, and it's just some other people, when I talk to them about high pointing, it's like, why do you do that? Like, I would never do that. And like, they try to tell you why it's crazy, but they don't want to do it anyway. So I think it's something, I never felt that way, right? So if you can talk someone out of something, then they don't want to do it anyway. But I think the Albert Brooks podcast was great. And he actually has a new documentary out. He was promoting that. It's Albert Brooks Defending My Life, he called it. And I watched that as well as a kind of a complimentary piece. And it was definitely a good few hours. So I recommend
That's awesome. All right.
And then I think, what else? I think when we walked in this general store in West Virginia, there was a sign there that says, we don't have Wi-Fi, pretend it's 1990 and talk to people. Right. Which I thought was phenomenal, because our phones were like, we didn't have any signal. We had nothing going on.
Yeah, you don't have signal anyway.
I'm like, all right. And then I said, wait a minute, 1990, I graduated high school in 91. That's not that long ago. Can that say 1960? Anyway, but we get out there, keep talking to people when you meet them, keep doing our thing, and then we'll keep going. And then bury me in Maple Hill Cemetery, right? Every time we go somewhere, we pick out a cemetery that's beautiful. We're like, hey, bury me here. Every one we do is the best one, the one we like the most.
I want to be the Louisiana one.
Oh,
right.
You're going to marry into that, right? There's only 2 last names there. I think, yeah.
Not even 1 spot left.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for being on the show, you guys. I do appreciate it. Again, you were the first podcast guest. You are the co-editors of Apex to Zenith. Thanks for a great issue, and we're all looking forward to the winter issue.
Right on.
It'll be out soon.
Happy holidays.